All right. Aloha, everyone. Welcome, board members and manager, to this July 25th, 2022 regular board meeting of the Board of Water Supply. I'm Board Chair Brian Andaya, and I'm joining the meeting via WebEx. I am alone in the room, although there might be some noise from the next room. I do apologize in advance. I'd like to go over some virtual meeting regulations required by law. Board members attending any board meetings remotely must be visible to the public to be considered present and meet quorum guidelines. Board members participating remotely must also disclose their location and anyone present at their location during roll call. The public is allowed to attend the Board of Water Supply board meeting at the BWS Public Service Building located at 630 South Baratania Street in Honolulu, Hawaii 96843 via interactive conference technology. Masks are encouraged but not required to be worn. I'd like to take a moment to take roll call of the board members. Please say aye when I call your name. Vice Chair Kapua-Sprout.
Aye. And I am alone working from my home office. Mahalo.
Thank you. Board Member Ray Soon.
Aye, and I'm in the boardroom.
Thank you. Board Member Max Sword. Board Member Naalehu Anthony.
Aye, and I'm in my home office alone.
Thank you. Board Member Jade Butai.
Aye, and I'm in my office alone.
Thank you. And Board Member Don Sefchan.
Aye, and I'm in my office. There's people in here right now, but they will be leaving shortly.
Thank you. All right. Board members who are calling or video conferencing in, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. If you should have a question, comment, or wish to enter a motion or second a motion on an action item, make a command, or want to applaud something or someone, please unmute your microphone and identify yourself before continuing to speak. If you encounter technical issues during today's meeting, and I hope it's not me, please use the WebEx chat to send a direct message to our support team. Their names are listed in a message to all WebEx participants. To open the chat window, please click or tap on the text bubble icon on the right side of the WebEx toolbar. In the boardroom at 630 South Baratania Street is Manager Ernest Lau, Board Member Board Secretary Joy Cruz Achu, and Information Specialist Stephen Nordstrom. Joining on WebEx to monitor in-person public testimony is Information Specialist Keone Matos of our Communications Office. And joining us by telephone conference or WebEx are Jeff Lau and Jessica Wong, both from the City and County Corporation Counsel Department. Before beginning today's regular meeting, I'd like to state that this board is dedicated to providing safe, dependable, and affordable water supply of water now and into the future. Testimony were accepted as follows and is still being accepted. Written testimony was accepted, and we do have some testimony on, and I will note at the item that comes up. Mail written testimony was also accepted. Online testimony was also being accepted. Currently, we are accepting telephone testimony through the number 808-748-6040. Again, that number is 808-748-6040. Callers will be placed in a queue and brought up to testify one at a time. In-person testimony is also being accepted at the meeting in the boardroom at the Board of Water Supply. In-person testifiers should check in the lobby of our service building at 630 South Peritania Street, and they will be brought into the boardroom to present their testimony. Again, we will be taking testimony by telephone today. The number is 808-748-6040. You will be placed on hold and we will open up the line one by one for you to testify. When your line is open, we ask that you speak slowly and state your full name, spelling both your first and last names, then start your testimony. You will have 2 minutes to state your position. We have a timekeeper and they will alert you when you have 1 minute remaining. When the 2 minutes are up, we respectfully request that you end to allow room for the next testifier. Meeting materials, otherwise known as the board packet under HRS section 92-7.5, are accessible at www.boardofwatersupply.com/board meetings. This meeting can also be viewable via live streaming on our website, www.boardofwatersupply.com/live. The video player will appear on your screen, and you may have to click on the arrow on the video to start it. You also may have to unmute the audio, as muted audio tends to be the default setting. I understand today that we do have testifiers, and as a courtesy to everyone, including our testifiers, I'd like to take the agenda out of order today. I would like to begin with item for information number 1. And that item is, first up is Manager Ernest Lau, Erwin Kawata, Program Administrator, Water Quality Division, Barry Usagawa, Program Administrator, Water Resources Division, Kathleen Elliott, Information Officer, Communications Office, and the item is update on Board of Water Supplies response to the potential impacts of the Red Hill fuel contamination. Manager Lau?
Thank you, Board Chair. I just, for this month, it's a relatively short update. I'll have ask Kathleen Elliott Pine Nui to share the PowerPoint.
Okay, I think Joy, can you bring it up or?
Okay.
Okay, great,
And
thank
I'll
you.
let Kathleen provide the communications update primarily. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Manager, Board Chair, Board members. I appreciate your time. Next slide, please. Okay, just a couple of new things. We had some new recordings this month. We had Council Chair Tommy Waters, Council Member Andrea Tupola, and Steve Miller, General Manager Outrigger Waikiki, graciously gave of their time to provide conservation messages that will air on Hawaii News Now, Water and Wisdom Wednesdays. We're also going to start a new initiative with KHON called Water Watch Wednesdays, where we're going to have a graphic during the weather portion that shows how we're doing in our water conservation. And we set it up like a stoplight, red, yellow, green. And then Justin Cruz or whoever the weather person is that day will let us know that week how we're doing in our water. We're hoping to start that the first week in August. And then our hotel partnership, now that we've got that underway and they've done their outreach, we've been partnering with Outrigger on the outreach. We've done 2. We've got a 3rd hotel audit already set up. I've worked with Outrigger in a previous lifetime, and so I reached out to Barbara Campbell and Sean D. and to see if they would be interested. And they have embraced the conservation messaging, and they're doing their own energy type of audit as well with Nicole Chatterton, if anyone knows her. And so it's going to be a really positive outreach and partnership in promoting conservation in the hotel industry and especially within the visitor industry. Because again, as you can imagine, we get a lot of pushback from the community saying, how come you're picking on us? You're not picking on the tourists. So we're going to be picking on the tourists. So But we're very excited about that. Next slide, please. This is the Water Wedge Wednesdays I just mentioned. This is what it's going to look like. Next slide, please. And again, we are really amping up our city and state partnerships. We're very grateful. We did some social media for the Department of Ocean Recreation, Ocean and Boating, affectionately known as DOBAR. They also did a little news release on this water conservation. They're looking to, especially at the harbors, conserve water. And we are having an emergency prep fair that we're doing this weekend with the City Department of Emergency Management, where we'll be talking about, storing water, but also promoting conservation while we're there as well. And then we're doing some more outreach on rain barrels and rain harvesting. Next slide, please. And we're pleased to say we won a Hawaii Green Business Award. It was the first time we actually participated. Next slide. And we're very grateful to have gotten a commendation from the state on this project. As you can see, there were a lot of people who were, back one, please. There were a lot of people who participated, a lot of nonprofits and hotels and other businesses. So we're very grateful that we got a commendation and recognition of the work that we've been doing. Next slide, please. And our dashboard for the month of June, as you can see, we have provided nearly $600,000 in rebates and almost 50 million gallons saved this year per year. So our rebate program is doing it very well. We've got some initiatives going on. Again, we have a program with Hardware Hawaii that I will talk about shortly. And then we just got a call from City Mail, and we're going to be doing some workshops in a couple of their stores regarding rain barrels. Next slide, please. And our waterfall, again, I'm sorry, Barry, I don't mean to take your thunder here. June, unfortunately, was extremely low in water rainfall, sad to say, after a decent May. Next slide. But the good news is, despite the low rainfall, as you can see, even though water usage did go up for the month of June, it was still below the 5-year moving average and still below what we had in 2022. So we do believe the conservation message is getting out there. That would be one of the significant differences. So we believe the message is definitely being reached by the public, and we're very grateful to see that it's staying well below the other two lines. Next slide, please. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. Are there any questions to the board members for our update?
I have one really quick. Kathleen, I know in previous meetings you mentioned about talking to the Hawaii Roast Restaurant Association. And I apologize to Ernie and Brian, if I'm beating a dead horse here, but I still go out to dinner and I still see them serving water.
Well, if you have a
without
specific
being asked,
restaurant,
Yeah,
if you
so
have
if you could reiterate, or at least remind them to remind their members. In fact, I had breakfast this morning at a place and they served the water right away. So
what restaurant was that, board member?
I'll pass it on to Ernie. I don't want to say.
No,
Yeah,
no
you-
problem, sir.
Since
I
it's a public
understand.
thing.
No, that's okay.
I'll give the name to Ernie. But yeah, if you could remind their members that if they to at least don't serve water unless they're asked, they ask for the water.
Yeah, we will reiterate that with the organization. One of the most effective ways, though, anytime you do go to a restaurant and they do that, please just shoot me an email and we will personally call the restaurant ourselves and do it, because it's learned behavior, as you know, being in the industry. That's just what servers do. And so it's just going to take a while to get them to unlearn that behavior. I do notice it more in town than I do notice it up in my neck of the woods. It kind of depends on what side of the island you are on, and sometimes a little bit more frequent than others. But thank you for that. And we will continue doing that. We will continue calling and reaching out. Thank you.
Kathleen, maybe you can share the telephone number. People see that the water waste is going on, that they want to let us know, and we can reach out to the property owner. What is the number that people can call?
808-748-5041.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen.
I'm sorry, say that again?
808-748-5041.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you, Kathleen. Board members, any other questions?
Is this the entirety of item one?
Right now.
Are we gonna have an update on radio?
On Red Hill, the only things that came out were okay, yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, board member Sim. So on Red Hill, on June 30th, the US Navy did submit two things: a investigative report into the command investigation to what happened back in May and November of last year. And they also submitted a defueling plan to the State Department of Health, which had a deadline of June 30th to be submitted to the Department of Health. The investigative report was actually quite critical of different procedural and organizational shortcomings that led to the May event and also the November release of fuel close to Red Hill Shaft. So that command investigation report identified a number of measures. It was over 200 pages long. Yet the report also, I think, some of the issues that it didn't mention, one of the things, is some of the problems they had last year with some pressure surges, I think back in September. But it was a pretty critical report done by the Navy. And the defueling plan, unfortunately, was very brief and lacked a lot of details and didn't comply with what the Department of Health emergency order required, which is a lot more detailed in terms of into the specifics and cost. We seem to have some visual problems there into the procedures and costs. Kathleen, can you open your camera or turn off your camera? Yeah, thank you. Okay, thanks, Steve. So the plan basically gave the Navy to around the end of 2024 to actually defuel the facility safely, which we expressed very strongly that was much too long. That's about 2.5 years at least before they actually start to defuel the facility. And if everybody, I kind of reminded everybody that the entire Red Hill fuel facility was actually built in 3 years between 1940 and 1943. So from my position, the lack of detail was very troubling. The entire defueling plan, which is constituted mainly an outline of work to be done to actually create a defueling plan, was about 19 pages. Didn't have any a good detailed schedule and a breakdown and prioritization of the different tasks and projects needed to do the repairs for safety fueling. So the Department of Health, from what I understand, although they have not officially sent a notice, I believe, to the US Navy, have come out publicly and said that they will be rejecting what was submitted on June 30th. So the key right now is going to be to see what actually is submitted. And Navy has publicly at a meeting last week indicated that they are going to be coming out with something in August. So it's going to be very important to see what they submit. I would hope that the Navy will put together a very coherent and detailed plan that actually fully complies with the Department of Health's emergency order requirements. Because the longer we delay on getting a approved plan, a plan submitted and a plan approved by the Department of Health, the longer the fuel will stay in that facility. So the less back and forth between the Department of Health and Navy, the better. So that's kind of my suggestion to the Navy. Do submit something very comprehensive and detailed and that fully meets the Department of Health's requirements. So those are, I think, the major developments that occurred on June 30th of last month. And any questions on board members?
Hello, Ernie. This is Naalehu. Maybe just a comment. There was also that legislative hearing last week, Tuesday, with the Navy and legislators, and I would encourage everyone listening, as well as anyone who's on the board who didn't get to see it, to just go back and watch it. I can put the link in the chat in a minute. It was really comprehensive. There were a number of good details that were presented by DOH about why the defueling plan was not a plan and lacked the kind of critical analysis of what needed to be done, especially given the timeline. There were also a number of questions that were asked that I think are really helpful for us to start to understand better scale and scope of what's happening with respect to Red Hill. The one thing that I would point out to the board is that when asked how long the given amount of fuel would take to degrade, given that there are any number of sets of conditions at which fuel would naturally degrade to much lower levels in the aquifer. Their expert, I believe it was Vanderlei, who's the engineer, said that it would take between 20 and 40 years for that fuel to fully decay within the geology of the aquifer. That's, whether or not it's correct and whether or not it's debatable, I think is beside the point. The point is that we're looking at a very long, protracted set of engagements with respect to this plume and with respect to the Navy. On maybe a little lighter note, but a positive thing, I think also last week that we should let the board know about with respect to Red Hill was that for the first time ever, the Navy, the Department of Health, the Board of Water Supply, and the Sierra Club came together as part of the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement sets of plenaries. I think there were more than 1,000 people registered, and close to that in attendance. But there were a number of really important things that the Navy Admiral Barnett said that we should take a look at. I'll probably get a transcript built and send it over to the board as well. But these are all, I think, important movement towards starting to saddle up and figuring out what and how we're going to engage with the different partners in this as we move. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lehu. Actually, I should ask you to do the report every month. You do such a great job. But yeah, you're right. And I actually at that, and thank you to the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement for providing an opportunity, and now Lehu for doing an excellent job facilitating the discussion of that panel. The other opportunity that was good was I was able to meet the Rear Admiral Stephen Barnett. He is the new Navy Admiral in charge of Navy Region Hawaii, and has just taken that position about 30 days ago. So it's going to be very important to open these conversations directly with the leadership within the Navy. What Admiral Barnett shared, and I suggested that they try to put together a kind of a clear description of what the leadership structure will be that will oversee the defueling of the Red Hill fuel facility. He indicated that there would be some very high level Navy officer in charge of a task force that would be overseeing the defueling. So I look forward to receiving that information, and I hope that that information is made public so that people understand what's being done and how it's going to be done. who's going to be responsible to oversee it, and to ensure that the defilling is done safely and quickly. So that's kind of the, any questions from the board member, from the board?
And no, if I can just add, I was at the CNHA conference and I echo your comments about the job Nalalehu did, and also the job you did. You were very forceful. It was a high level conversation, but there were commitments made, or at least comments made. I'm not sure you could only speak to the fire by Admiral Barnett that I think are important to codify in some way. So that we can only speak to the fire. He will be here for a while.
At least
If-
2 years.
with great catching him in the beginning of his rotation. So we have a fair amount of time with him.
You know, board member Soon, we've been on this for 8.5 years now, and I've had a chance to meet a number of commanders in charge of Navy Region Hawaii, which the field facility, I think, falls under their command to maintain and operate. I would say, you know, this out of all the admirals I met, and this is only hopefully based on first impression, but hopefully it'll carry through, that I felt very comfortable having a very honest and open discussion with the admiral, and he's I'm hopeful that, you know, he is fundamentally a good person that is looking for the good of our community, that will maintain these opportunities for open and honest conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add my voice to the discussion here, and I really want to mahalo Ernie, board member Anthony, and actually everybody on the team, because, you know, the outreach that's been and the education that's been necessary around Red Hill is just an endless and thankless effort. I mean, there are so many meetings that you folks have to go to. And I really appreciate all of the time that you folks have made, and especially the way that this came together. I think this was the first time that we had a discussion, not just a high level discussion of this kind, but also where we brought all of the various parties to the table and we could talk together. And I think this is exactly what the board's been asking for, as far as making, you know, helping to create these relationships, to have the conversation. And so I just wanted to thank you for doing that, Ernie, and to you, board member Anthony, for setting it up. I think this is a great step in the right direction. And I'm excited about, you know, I realize we have a long way to go with respect to cleanup. But this gives me hope that this is at least a step in the right direction. And I was unable to go to the conference, but I cannot tell you the number of texts and phone calls and emails and outreach that I got about this specific panel. So thank you so much, everyone.
If I could just follow up to Kapua's statement. So the panel will be available, and we will, I'll make sure that I get this, the board, the links in case you wanna hear what the Navy has to say. Also, just 2 really important data points, you folks, for the, to point towards where our community is. You know, this is the first time too that there was such a large live audience in a couple of years. It was the 2 big ballrooms at the Sheraton, and there were easily, I don't know, Ray, there were at least 800 or 900 people in the room that morning. And when I asked the question by show of hands, how many people are concerned about the future of Oahu's drinking water, virtually every single person raised their hand. And these are people from other states, other islands, all across Oahu, all walks of life, all kind of different folks who are at this conference. And then the second thing that I think is really important to note is that towards the end, when Ernie was giving his closing thoughts, the audience started to clap, and they were so moved, Ernie, by the effort that you put in these last years, but certainly over the last 7 and 8 months, that Ernie got a standing ovation, and lots of chanting by Hina Wong as well. But the standing ovation, I think, was really important to note because of the recognized commitment that you, Ernie, have made personally and have brought the Board of Water Supply along with as we persist into these unknown waters, if you will.
Mahalo, board member Anthony. It was very humbling And it was just amazing to see that I would think everybody in that room were committed to Ola Ikabai, Hawaii Ola, Water for Life. And that's the common thread that binds all of us together because we all need water for life. So mahalo, Board Member Anthony, and great job of facilitating that panel. Thank you. Board Chair.
All right, board members. So if there's no further questions, I do want to know. I do want to note for the record a couple of testimonies that we did receive on this matter. In writing, we received testimonies from the following, and I'd like to note for the record that this has been incorporated to the record, and I presume to circulate it to all board members. Two written testimonies we received are from Meredith Wilson, and we also received written testimony from Colonel Ann Wright, both in writing and over the phone. Is there any additional public testimony at this time?
Yes, Chair, we do have it in person.
Okay.
And a phone call.
Okay, let's start with the in-person testimony, please. I wish I could be there to help.
Please state your name.
Okay, my name is Susan Picola Davis. I usually always wear a mask, but it's easier to talk without it. Do I need to say anything else of who I am?
No.
Okay, I've lived in Hawaii for over 40 years. And I do want to state that I was not affected by the water yet. Okay. So Anthony brought up the meeting held last week on Tuesday, July 19th, at the chambers of the Capitol. And the two committees from the legislature sponsored it. And Jarrett K, the first chairperson, and Mr. Yamani was the second chairperson. So some of the takeaways that I got from that, and I'm still concerned to this day, and I'll probably keep saying it forever and ever, is that number one, I don't know what ELA numbers we're using to say what's detected as far as fuel and what's not. The reason I'm saying that is because the Navy said they have drilled 2 monitoring wells and planned 3 sentinel wells. Testing from the monitoring wells so far has been non-detect. So I'm going to give a hypothetical. If they're using the Department of Health's 211 number, which concerns me, but if non-detect then becomes 210, where are we in the scope of things? Personally, I would not like to see any fuel in my water. I don't think any of you want to be drinking it either. The Navy was able to drill these wells quickly because it was on Navy land. Other wells will take longer due to landowners. I believe the Navy is leasing the land, so therefore, in my opinion, it's not their land, but this is the wiggle room that they have in order to bypass permitting. The Navy wants to pump all the fuel out through a well-constructed system. During this meeting, it was admitted that the Navy used, or whoever did the whole system, used PVC versus steel. And in one of the reports, it basically said they used PVC because it was cheaper. This is way back. The Department of Health did not approve the defueling plan and will not get a revised one until August, because the Navy, as Ernie said, but specifically, the Navy did not address in detail their 7 required elements. From the hearing, and from what I took from it, Navy, in my opinion only, the Navy seems to think that their plan is good and they just need to add details, which we won't get because they set themselves their own August timeline, or maybe in conference with Department of Health. I really don't know. All of this is very disappointing. Also, lastly, the decommissioning or closure plans aren't due until November. From a person that also worked for the Navy as a public federal employee, I've seen this kind of stuff before. My concern is that the pushing back of these dates still allows for too much, I want to say bargaining, but it's really not that. And I don't even have the word for it. But if they're one of the questions was, why are you reinforcing, I think this was Gannigan, why are you reinforcing all of these structures, the pipeline, the valves, when we're just gonna decommission it anyway? And then, of course, the answer was, well, because we need a safe way to remove the fuel. So it could be that they're now putting steel pipes in and then bypassing the PVC in order to get the fuel out the same way they've always done it. Which means now they've just built a new way of taking fuel from the tanks to Pearl Harbor.
Ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, ma'am, could you summarize, or are you finished?
No, I'd like to thank you all for your work. I'd like to thank everyone on the Board of Water Supply, which I have to let you know from the public's perspective, and I'm in a lot of social media, Board of Water Supply is basically the only institution in Hawaii that people are really saying you guys have got our backs. So a lot of trust has been put into you. The Department of Health is playing this role, and you all are this role, and the parallel doesn't seem to come together. Maybe it does in private, but for the public, it looks like two lanes going the same thing, but the communication between may not be as forthcoming as the Board of Water Supply. I would expect the Board of Water Supply should be given all the information. Please watch the Senate meeting, July 19th. It was at 2:00. Anthony mentioned it. Go back and watch it. Your eyes will open. It's two in so many hours. I'm transcribing it right now. I'll provide you a copy. Very important for you all to listen to that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, did you have any questions for
Probably not.
our testifiers?
Do you have any questions?
Mr. Chair, maybe
Okay.
just a comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe just a comment. I just, first of all, I want to thank you for coming in, ma'am, today to share your thoughts. I think what you brought up is absolutely critical to the discussion when we start to look at how fuel is moving throughout the system. The idea that anything below the legal threshold goes to non-detect is completely unacceptable. When Erwin Kawata tests his system at his wells, he tests all the way down to parts per trillion. And I think this is really important for us to get straight as we move forward, because what Erwin's doing is he's looking for any sign of anything moving in the water so that we can acknowledge it and deal with it before it becomes a problem. And to say anything below the legal limit is not a problem is a problem. So thank you for bringing that up. It is noted. I saw that go by as well, and I will make sure that I get the link for the rest of the board for that that meeting that you referenced last Tuesday. It is really important that we see it. And also, too, if you do end up with the transcript, if you could email it to us, that would be very helpful.
Susie, you
Thank
can
you.
send it to me, I can get it to the.
Okay, yes,
Thank you.
it's 2 hours, so it's taking a while.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. let's see here. I guess has left. Madam Secretary, are there any other testifiers in person?
Yes, there's 2 phone testifiers.
Okay. Would someone please keep time and prompt me as needed?
First one's coming on.
It's live now.
Oh, aloha. This is the
Aloha.
Board of the Water Supply.
Yes, Colonel and, yes, this is Colonel Ann Wright, and I did submit written testimony, but I did want to call in person just to thank you all for really, the truth. And also to encourage you whenever you have a moment with any of the, other stakeholders in this, whether it's Navy or Department of Health, to really emphasize that there are some alternatives that are less expensive and faster to getting that fuel out than what we are seeing what the Navy is presenting. I was in the military 29 years, and I guarantee you that they got for the most expensive way to do things, and the time does not seem to matter to them. There are ways, I think, that we can take the fuel out by putting it from the tanks into fuel tankers and moving it down the hill rather than redoing 3.5 miles of pipe. I know this really isn't the Board of Water Supply Kuleana, but you all are very important and very, you've got a lot of respect in the community and with those stakeholders, and I hope that you will encourage them to look at alternative ways than these very, very expensive, probably $500 million that they want to invest in the pipe, redoing the 3.5 miles or more of pipe, plus the tanks themselves. So again, thank you very much. We trust you all. We don't trust many of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam. Thank you for the kind words and for testifying today. Members, do you have any questions for our testifier? If not, thank you very much, Colonel Wright, for your time today.
thank you.
Madam Secretary, are there any more testifiers?
One more.
Okay.
Or live.
Aloha, are you here to testify?
Aloha, my name is Jamie Simic. Yes, I am.
Okay, please
I
do
was
so.
a resident and, sorry. I was a resident for 20 years, almost on Hawaii. I want to first thank Ernie Lau for his honesty and transparency throughout this ordeal. First, I would like to second the EAL level. I was a resident in the Mauna housing in 2014. Well, before then, 2010. Both my children were born on the water line. All 3 of us were severely ill. I've been diagnosed with several lesions, tumors, and cysts. We left the island in around 2018. Took about 2 years to start to feel a little bit better and came back in 2020 and immediately fell ill. These EAL levels were too high in 2014. They are beyond exuberant now. We need to be calling for testing, not just for JP5. We're only JP5, but we need to be calling for testing for all of our PSAs, as well as JP17, 24, for any other hydrocarbons or carcinogens that are doing damage to our bodies. The next thing I would like to address is our children and our schools. People are sending me videos on almost a daily basis of contaminated water spill. I tried to hand over videos to the Board of Water Supply of contaminated water down in Waikiki at my hotel up until the date that we left. My daughter suffered severe chemical burns down her scalp and her back that took 3 weeks to heal in the hotel at the end of February. I left the next day after only trying to test the water for 3 hours to shower with heart complications and other severe problems. I also have current videos as of June of the water going past Waikiki, the contamination, and that it's been down there for months. When are we going to address all of the releases that Ernie Lau discussed on January 18th? I think it was January 18th. When are we going to hold the military accountable to discuss those releases? The kids' schools on the bases are still contaminated. Children are falling ill constantly. I had to remove my children from school because they were sent home over 6 times to do a 10-day quarantine for symptoms that mimicked COVID that we have now found out was from the contamination still. And it was jet fuel. My son has 9 lesions on his head. If we keep sending our keiki into these schools with contamination and it's not cleaned up, especially on the Navy water line, you're going to have more and more people falling ill like myself and my children. I thank the Board of Water Supply for everything that they're doing. You guys are fighting tirelessly, and everybody is standing behind you guys. But we need somebody to stand up for us, for the truth, transparency, and medical health. The final thing I would like to ask is, has it been considered to push Governor Ige further in declaring a national emergency so we can get this help to not just the military, because this is affecting beyond the military. And if you go on Facebook or on the contamination page, you see what I'm saying is the truth. If anybody would like to contact me for any of the documentation I have, I've kept that door open since December 4th of the contamination spreading further across the island. Unfortunately, my family are human barometers because of how long we were in the contamination. I just want to thank you again for your support and your aloha and water is life. If we don't change course, we're already 8 months behind from admittance of the November leak. We're a lot further than that behind, and we need to bring help to Oahu.
O'Brien, Chair, you're muted right now.
Oh, thank you very much, ma'am, for your heartfelt testimony. Your time and your encouragement is much appreciated. Best wishes to you and to your family. Members, any questions?
Chair,
Yes, Manager Lau?
Jamie, if you could leave your contact information with I guess it's Stephen or email us at contact us.
They have a file on me.
Oh, okay.
I've been contacting the Board of Water Supply since December 2nd.
Okay.
I've been trying to get in touch directly with Ernie Lau
Oh,
to
okay.
hand over this documentation.
I'll talk to my staff to get the information that you've heard. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, aloha and mahalo.
Aloha.
Aloha. All right, Madam Secretary, any further testimony?
No, Chair, there's no further testimony.
Okay, I'd like to give a final opportunity to board members to make comments or questions.
Chair,
Jay,
question.
yes.
Early on your meeting with the, with the Admiral, I mean, things have been going on for a long time now and, and the Navy has a credibility and trust issue. I mean, they've been looking like cavemen. I mean, how, did he say what is he going to do different? And, what, how can we trust that things will be different?
Thank you, Board Member Butai. It's a very good question. The Admiral I'm speaking to is in charge of Navy Region Hawaii, but in terms of the hierarchy of leadership, he has a certain responsibility here for Pearl Harbor. But there are levels above him that have also responsibility. So I think he was speaking to what he would like to do. But it's going to be important to see who the Navy puts ultimately in charge of that task force over the Red Hill situation. And apparently that the officer in charge might be somebody that's of a higher rank than Admiral Barnett, Rear Admiral Barnett. But you're right. What's important for the Navy to rebuild trust is actually by their actions, rather than just their words. They need to actually, for example, unfortunately,
Well said.
It's their decision to submit a 19-page defueling plan on June 30th, which was a known deadline from the state's emergency order. And how they proceed from there, that will also tell us if they are taking this serious or not.
And then one of the testifiers, kind of brought up about who owns the land that, like when we build highways or roads, and if it run through, a private property, the right of way, we have to purchase or condemn before we can do anything. I mean, do we know who owns a lot of those properties or that's gonna be impacted?
The Red Hill Fuel Facility, we believe that's on Navy owned land, the parcel that it sits on, where the fuel tanks and part of the pipelines. The pipelines run underground in a tunnel for about almost 3 miles to get to Pearl Harbor, where they load and unload fuel to this facility. I don't know if those underground pipeline tunnels exist within easements, or if it's some of it is Navy property or some other property owner with easements granted to the Navy. At least the Red Hill site, we believe that is owned by the Navy. We haven't done a search into the title to see if this was somebody else's land under executive order leased to to the Navy. But we can check on that and get back to you. But as far as we know, I think it's Navy property there at Red Hill.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah, a quick question.
Members,
Yeah,
any
she
further
brought-
questions?
Yeah, she brings up an interesting point, which I don't know if we've talked about it before, and that is drilling wells. Remember, we authorized 2 monitor wells, and I think we're told, correct me if I'm wrong, that it would take like a year because of permitting and all the regulations stuff. Now, she made a comment, which I don't know if it's true, that the Navy, because they own the land, they can just go and drill right away. If that's true, my follow-up comment is that can't we get any type of not a variance, but get out of jail free and drill right away at the monitoring well so that we can at least start monitoring what the heck is going on?
Okay, let's
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean,
yeah. Let me say that the monitor wells ultimately are the responsibility of the Navy to drill, but we're contributing to that effort to add more monitor wells.
Right.
That we, thank you to the board to authorize that. And we're proceeding as quickly as we can on those monitor wells. We actually have one where we're, I believe, I don't know if the contract's been fully signed, but we have a driller identified to drill monitor well at Site H. We're getting final approvals from the landowner. They've had some additional requirements, so we're working through that. The Navy has a responsibility to drill monitor wells too, and where they can drill immediately, they've basically drilled most of their attention on their Navy property, so they don't have to deal with the landowner. And because they're a federal facility, their permitting process is maybe more simplified than ours. But what we need is actually monitor wells off of Navy property into the valleys of Halava and also in Mauna Loa.
But are we having to comply by, environmental?
We have to comply with all
Well,
state.
that's my point.
City-
Actually, my point
city,
is that
state, and federal
is there
requirements.
any way that, because it's pretty important. I mean, this thing is spreading fast. We need to know right away.
Yeah.
So my point is that, is there any way to shorten by, at least,
There-
I don't know whether it's, the governor calling an emergency or
there-
whatever the heck it is.
There is for city and state laws, except for not federal laws. From what I understand, under the emergency proclamation declaration by the governor, he can waive certain statutory requirements at the city or county or
right.
state level, but not the federal requirements. So that is one option to try to expedite the
Well,
process.
that's what my point is, that have we looked
We-
at that venue to at least expedite the?
The answer is yes.
Okay, that's what I.
Yes, although we
Is there
have,
what somewhere in there?
yes, but we haven't actually received a support for a proclamation yet.
Okay, I mean, I think it's important that we know where the heck this fuel is going, and if we can somehow expedite and shorten up the process to get those monitor wells drilled, I certainly would. think that.
And you have to also remember, board member Sword, that the regulatory authority is vested in the Department of Health and EPA, and also the EPA. So that the governor's state Department of Health is also charged with moving forward the investigation into the nature and extent of the contamination, which is their requirements put on the Navy for drilling these wells. Probably assist the Navy in getting access to these sites. I'm not informed as how that's being done.
Yeah, I would encourage that if there's any way that we could expedite doing that, and I certainly.
We have attempted.
Okay,
Yeah, board member Sword, you can go across the street to the governor's office and ask him to expedite and do an emergency proclamation. I believe we've tried that.
okay, well, I wasn't aware of that, Mr. Chair, but that was my question. I wasn't aware of that, so if you are, then that's fine. But
Okay, no, but thank you. You're definitely right. Member Sword, echo your concerns.
Chair, if I could, just one comment. I know that we want to get to the rest of the meeting. Just to add one last thing is that yes, we're in a trust building phase with the Navy, but this is really about oversight, and it has to do with the fact that we need to have a clear indication as to who is going to hold all parties to the regulatory and cleanup means that are necessary, so that we can get to a place where clean drinking water is accessible to all on Oahu.
Yes, thank you very much, board member Anthony. Very well said. Members, any further questions? Okay, I would add my own, but I don't think I could do it as eloquently as you all have. So with that, thank you very much. We're going to, given that there's no other testifiers, we're going to move to the top of the agenda on the items requiring board action. All right, item number 1 requiring board action is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on June 27, 2022.
Chair, I so move that we approve the minutes.
second,
Thank you. Normally I would recognize who's making the motion and who's seconding, but it's just a little bit harder when I'm remote. So, Madam Secretary, I hope you're okay.
Yes, it was Ray and Max.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? I hope you've all had a chance to. I think somebody's not on mute. Have you all had a chance to review the minutes? Is there any discussions, any corrections, amendments? Okay, hearing none. Um, Madam Secretary, what roll call vote, please?
Vice Chair Capozbro,
Aye.
Board Member Ray Soon,
Aye.
Board Member Max Sword,
Aye.
Board Member Nale Anthony,
Aye.
Board Member Jay Butai,
Aye.
Board Member John Sevcik,
Aye.
Chair Brian Antaya.
Aye.
Chair, motion passes with 7 ayes.
Mahalo. Moving on to the next item, item number 2. This is the adoption of resolution number 944, 2022. This is for the acceptance of a gift to the Board of Water Supply from Hardware Hawaii to support the Board of Water Supply's conservation efforts. Chair recognizes Manager Lau.
Thank you, Chair. I actually will have Kathleen Elliott Pahinui, head of our communications office, share this report. And a big mahalo to our Hardware Hawaii. Kathleen?
Thank you, Manager, Board Chair, Board members. We recommend acceptance of the proposed gift to the Board of Water Supply, City and County of Honolulu from Hardware Hawaii of toilet flapper coupons valued at $6,500 in support of the BWS's conservation efforts. As we know, toilets account for the most significant number of indoor leaks, and undetected toilet leak could waste as much as 5 gallons of water per minute, costing customers hundreds of dollars a year. The culprit is normally a worn or deteriorated flush valve, or what we call a flapper, that's in the tank of the toilet. That is why it's essential to check the toilet flapper every year to make sure it is fitted tightly over the flush tube. Placing one can be quick, inexpensive, and easy to fix. While there's no universal flapper, it is highly encouraged you bring the old one into the hardware store to make sure you buy a new one that fits your toilet model. Hardware Hawaii toilet flapper coupons will be placed inside BWS water saving kits, which includes water conservation material. These kits will be distributed during BWS events and available for pickup at BWS's Public Service Building at 630 South Beretania during business hours. And I've already, our customer care team has already requested coupons for their customers, so we're gonna make sure they get some. The amount of the coupon is 20% off the retail price of whatever the flapper, and flappers range anywhere from like $3.99, $4.95 up to like $15, $16. So we really appreciate Hardware Hawaii's Kokua. They've been a great partner, and we recommend that the board accept this gift of $6,500. And a big shout out to Stephen Nordstrom, who has worked very hard to develop this relationship with Hardware Hawaii, and they've proven to be a terrific partner. So we're very grateful for that. Thank you, board members and board chair.
Oh, mahalo, Kathleen. Members, any questions? All right, this is an action item. So I will be entertaining a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Oh, good, Don.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 944, 2022. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Vice Chair Capozbro,
Aye.
Board Member Ray Soon,
Aye.
Board Member Max Sword,
Aye.
Board Member Nale Anthony,
Aye.
Board Member Jay Butai,
Aye.
Board Member John Sevcik,
Aye.
Chair Brian Antaya.
Aye,
Chair, motion passes with 7 ayes.
thank you. All right, let's move on then to item number 3. This is the election of the chair and vice chair of the Board of Water Supply for a term that began on July 1st, 2022. Let's see, Manager Lau, would you please take charge of the discussions on this?
Thank you, Chair. You know, my apologies, my bad. I normally this would have occurred in the month of June at last month's meeting, but my oversight on that, my apologies. But we need nominations for board chair and also vice chair to serve for 1 year for the fiscal year that we're currently in, fiscal year 2023. So I just want to chair with your indulgence, allow for nominations to be provided right now for chair and vice chair positions on the board. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Well, nominations are open for both positions. Let's start with a vice chair position.
I just want to say to the board, we do need,
Um,
do need positions filled
Crickets.
for the board to operate, so.
Anyway, just to start it off, I was gonna say, if anybody has any ideas of nominating me for any of those positions, I have my fill of chairmanships already, so.
Thank you. Thank you, Max, for helping us the process of elimination here. So I would ask for volunteers. Hearing none.
I nominate Kapua again. Kapua, is this something you want to continue doing? And I also vote that nominations for vice chair be closed.
Well, perhaps I might respond first. Well,
Have you heard of the word Shanghai?
I have. I mean, it's been an honor to serve as vice chair and an honor to work with Brian. I think for me, and for me on a going forward basis, I think for both the chair and the vice chair, Red Hill is going to continue to be a really, really important issue. I mean, I've lost track of the number of years I've been on the board now, but to me, this is the greatest water crisis that we've faced during my tenure on the board. And unfortunately, I think this is the greatest crisis that we faced as a board ever on Oahu within the history of the Board of Water Supply. And so I guess I hope whoever would like to serve, and if there is no one else who would like to serve as vice chair, I would be willing to continue. But I would like to recognize that, board member Anthony has played a really significant role with respect to Red Hill. He's been point on so many issues. He's helped us with everything from communications to really taking the lead on things. Like I think the panel that you helped to facilitate at the CNHA conference last week was really important, both for elevating public understanding and discussion around these issues, as well as just helping to bring together all of the parties who need to be in conversation around this issue in order for us to craft a solution. And so I'm willing to serve if there was no one else who would be willing to serve, but I also just wanted to, at the risk of volunteering folks, want to see if board member Anthony is interested in serving in any capacity, because I think he would bring so much to the board on this issue in particular.
Yeah, thanks for that, board member, Vice Chair Sproat. You folks, one of the things that has become clear in this that I think we're all reminded of, whether it's in the water quality side or the chief engineer's role or any of us on the board, is that, and we've all taken up, I think, a lot of the slack as there have been any number of hundreds of meetings and discussions and policy considerations that have rippled through both the city and the state all the way to the federal level with respect to this one issue. And I would also say that the experts, the premier experts of what needs to happen in the future reside at 605 South Britannia Street. And so that voice is needed now and into the future. But we also recognize that this is something that we cannot just take on with all of the other tasks that Ernie has had on his plate and Erwin has had on his plate, and the board as well. The board chair, we run, I don't know how many main breaks every year, how many between 12 and 22 miles of pipe that we have to lay down every year, as well as all the other things that need to get done as we engage in meeting the charter. This Red Hill piece needs folks who are going to be willing to take that head on and help to facilitate the conversations around all the policymakers, as well as make sure that we have the ability to communicate to the public effectively. Kathleen folks have done an amazing job, and this is a marathon, not a sprint. So if I can help with the Red Hill portion in any way, and the board sees it fit to have me do that, then I'm happy to engage the Red Hill portion of this as needed.
So I have a question, Mr. Chair, Kapua. So if you're declining the nomination,
Is that necessary? I guess I'd like to add 2 cents here. I think Nalehu raises a couple of really good points. One being that we have a really big agenda at the board, and Red Hill is one piece of that entire agenda. And I think the chair and the vice chair providing leadership over everything else is crucial, and that they need to keep their eye on all the different pieces. But I would really love to have somebody whose eyes were specifically on Red Hill and not distracted by the broad agenda that we have. I had sent a note to the chair earlier, hoping that we could discuss, in fact, this specific item. I would want to second the appointment of Kapua to vice chair, but I also would like to talk about an assigned role of some sort to Nahalehu to stay focused on Red Hill.
And I would just say that I would be, if Naale would be interested, I'd be happy to, so if there's no one else would like to be vice chair, then I would serve. But if Naale is interested, I would be very happy to have him be vice chair. I think especially given the importance of this issue. And I think for all of the many reasons that he's pointed out and that we know, there are just so many things that need to be managed on a going forward basis. Everything from testing and models and wells to litigation and recovery for our out-of-pocket costs and so much more. And that doesn't even touch the millions of things, pipeline repair, right? Everything else that we need to stay on top of on a regular basis. So, and I guess the other thing I think is given, I hear what board member Soon is saying, and I agree that I think we need to have a point person for Red Hill, but I think to some degree that it also helps to have that person be the chair or the vice chair, because you can then speak with authority when you're in any of these, various positions, given the amount of interaction that's required with Ernie and Erwin and everyone else. So I just want to put that out there for consideration.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if there are, to Ray's point about whether or not there are any special designations for projects like this, to the conversation about how we might tackle this.
So as far as I know, and Ernie, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Could do the only other vehicle I know is a permitted interaction group, which I would be willing to support if that's appropriate. And I'm not sure if we've ever, and maybe this is for Corp Council. Are we able to create committees, standing committees, or even special committees?
I will have to check, but I don't believe so. I would have to go look into that. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar.
Okay.
Brian,
but well, go
Brian,
ahead.
I'm not, I guess I would ask whether that's necessary. If you assigned Naalehu the task of representing the board on all issues, Red Hill, he's by himself. The PIC is required because you have more than three.
You cannot have
two
more. Yeah.
members of the board standing together. But if you just have one, I'm not sure you need to have a PIG required.
I'd be more than happy to assign Alehu. But who's going to be the vice? But who's the vice chair? But yes, Alehu, consider it an assignment if it helps you for Red Hill. And now Alehu actually has been a very big help to me during this time. It's been a very challenging time, and Nalehu's expertise, not just with Red Hill but in communications, has really helped me. So, and it has helped the entire board. Has helped all of us. So,
And
I'll do
also the department too. So I appreciate all the knowledge and suggestions from Lehu.
So yeah, definitely Nalehu, you let the record reflect my request to you. But between Kapua and Nalehu, it sounds like did somebody want to be chair? Vice chair?
Cricket.
I'm
Cricket.
I'm happy to defer to Naalehu. I've so enjoyed my time as vice chair, but I'm also happy to have him have a go at it. I think he would be fabulous.
Okay, not to put you on the spot, Nalehu, but you're on the spot.
So I guess up for discussion with the rest of the board has to do with whether or not the title is useful with respect to Red Hill. And if it is, then I'm willing to serve. And if there's a special assignment through a PEG that is as useful, then I'm happy to do it that way. I think that I know that Vice Chair Sprout is one of the sharpest lawyers with respect to anything in the field of water, and has spent her life protecting water. And so I want to make sure that she also has a say in this conversation moving forward with respect to Red Hill.
And I guess what I would say is that I'm, never being the wallflower, I would be happy to participate as a board member as opposed to, vice chair. And I would be happy to the degree that any of my legal or other expertise is relevant or helpful. I'm always happy to offer that as well. I mean, Ernie knows I'm just a phone call or text away if he needs me.
Are you still taking comments, Chair?
Yes. I don't know that we're any further along in getting a vice chair or not.
I think there's a nomination of Kapua, and I think I seconded it. And I would like to speak to it. I really do think Kapua should remain as vice chair. I don't think it makes a difference that we call Naalehu vice chair or board member assigned to Red Hill. He will dominate whatever podium he stands at. Well, I hope that we would all continue to call on Kapoor as vice chair and her legal expertise.
But can I follow up on that, on Ray's comment as far as Nalehu being the point for Red Hill? This is for Corp Council. Is there any regulation against a permanent PIG? Is there, is there any regulation as far as a permanent PIG? Because that would work out with if we assign Nalehu, as Ray suggested, as the point for Red Hill. And it doesn't mean that Kapua cannot be the second on that group in that PIG. Because I agree with Ray, that, you know, when you have something specific like Red Hill, that's gonna take up a lot of time of somebody's time. So that's, you know, that's something I would certainly support. And I think that, if we do give that, lack of a better word, point person, on Red Hill, I don't see a problem if he walks in with that, name tag on him, that, they won't give him the same, courtesy as they would if he was the chair or anything, because he would be there under the authorization of the board, as the point person for Red Hill. It's just my comment. I kind of agree with that.
This is Jessica. I'm not sure if there was a question in there for me, but I really don't believe that you can form a permanent pig. So I will definitely look into that further, but they're meant to be temporary in nature, just to investigate one matter, and then
Okay.
it's usually disbanded.
All right, so if it's gonna be temporary, then you say, okay, if it's 1 year, then 1 year, and then after the 1 year, we just say, I'm going to nominate him again for a continuation of the pig.
Well,
So if,
they're usually not defined by duration either, just by issue.
okay, then that should make it kind of semi-permanent then, because Red Hill will be with us for, based on the way the Navy is operating, it'll be for a little while.
So, can I make a suggestion? If we're gonna go down the road of a pig, I think that needs to be sunshine and needs to be put on the agenda. So that's something we can do next meeting if that's the direction we want to go. But at this time, we need a vice chair. So I think the nomination is on the table. Naleho, you can still jump in if you want, but nomination for Kapua is on the table, and maybe we can have one last round of discussions on that, or if you folks are ready to vote, be
Chair,
happy to.
may I ask council a question before, I have a question for Jessica before we have further discussion. So Jessica,
Sure.
I just want to clarify, to the degree that we are looking to appoint a point person for Red Hill, I just want to clarify that if, that we could do that with respect to board member Anthony. Our chair has already kind of indicated his inclination to do that, and I just want to confirm that we can do that absent a pig.
You know, Sunshine is concerned with communications between board members primarily. If he's being just designated the point person for Red Hill and representing the board at other meetings without speaking to any other board members or anything, and just maybe reporting back at the monthly board meetings, I don't think there's an issue with that.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm, because I do think that is a, for me at least, that's a priority, and I'm really grateful for all the time and energy that he's invested, and I think that's a significant benefit, not just for the board, but for all of our ratepayers and for our community members who need clean drinking water on Oahu. And so, I have tried to demur. I appreciate that there's been a motion and a second, and so, I've offered, and I'm happy to have board member Anthony be vice chair instead of myself. If it's the inclination of the board that I serve and he be the point person, I'm happy to do that as well.
Okay, it sounds like we are ready for the question. All those in favor of Kapua Sprout as vice chair, let's have a roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Board member Ray Soon,
Aye.
board member Max Sword,
Aye.
board member Nale Anthony,
Aye.
board member Jay Kutai,
I,
board member Don Stefchek,
Aye.
chair Brandon Daya.
Aye.
Sorry, Vice Chair Kapua.
I'm gonna abstain. Thank you.
All right,
Chair
well,
Go ahead.
no, go. Madam Secretary.
Chair, motion passes with 6 ayes and 1 abstention.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vice Chair Spro. I mean, your expertise is really, really valuable. Really happy to have you stay on as Vice Chair. Thank you very much for your support and for your service on to the board. All right, we've got one more position. It's the chair position. I'm happy to take any volunteers.
Again, crickets. I move that we reappoint Brian and Dia to chair. I second it.
No volunteers.
Hey, it's
Okay.
crickets over here, man.
Well, I humbly accept. I really I hope if ever there's any volunteers, just let me know and we'll set it up. You know, it's been an honor to serve the board and to be part of the board. I really try to keep a balanced approach, make sure everybody gets gets involved and is in communication. It is my top priority in all issues, Red Hill as well as all the other issues. We're committed to transparency at the board, and I think that has brought us a lot of credibility, along, of course, with our manager, Ernie Lau. Thank you very much, Ernie, for doing such a great job. You make our job as board members much easier, and really happy and humbled by your support to the entire department. Thank you for your hard work. I can't single anybody out by name, but looking forward to it. I am coming towards the twilight of my second term. I think Vice Chair and I are. So in the next few years, we certainly want to start planning succession. I think we have a outstanding pig on that, speaking of pigs. So that's something we'll look at in the next year or two. It's certainly something we have to plan for long term, especially with challenges like Red Hill that's going to outlast I think all of us in our respective positions.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Shoot, we didn't even vote yet. I'm giving a speech. We didn't even vote yet. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Vice Chair Kapua.
Aye.
Board Member Ray Food.
Aye.
Board Member Max Sword.
Aye.
Board Member Naga Guanpi.
Aye.
Board Member Jay Butai.
Aye.
Board Member Don Sepchek.
Aye.
Chair Brian and Dia.
I'll abstain.
Chair, motion passes with 6 ayes and 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you again on behalf of me and Kapua. Mahalo nui loa. All right, moving on to items for information. We did item number 1, so we are now on. Oh, before we move on, Madam Secretary, are there any testifiers to any of the actions that we took?
No, Chair, there's no testifiers for any action items.
Okay, thank you. All right, item number 2 for information. Let's see here. Okay, sorry. Next up is Deputy Manager Ellen Kitamura, and item number 2. This is the draft Board of Water Supply Strategic Plan Report and presentation of report and recommendations to the board by the HRS Section 92-2.5 Permitted Interaction Group. Deputy Manager?
Hey, good afternoon, Chair Andaya and board members, and Chair Andaya and Vice Chair Sproat. Congratulations. Looking forward to working with you for another year. I'll be giving a brief presentation on the Board of Water Supply's draft strategic plan that we've been working on, and this is for fiscal years 2023 to 2027. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the agenda for today's presentation. I'll be reviewing the workshop and the meeting schedule, the contents of the plan, major elements of the plan, and the report that was submitted by the Permitted Interaction Group, and also the draft strategic plan. Next slide, please.
Sorry, Ellen. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I have to read this
Oh, that's right. Go ahead.
disclaimer here. So pursuant to HRS section 92-2.5, subsection B1A, and board action taken on January 24, 2022, the board approved the creation of a permitted interaction group, or PIG, comprised of board member Soon, board member Anthony, and myself. The PIG collaborated with the Board of Water Supply's senior management team to update the strategic plan for the agency for fiscal years 2023 to 2027. Pursuant to HRS section 92-2.5 B1B, our resulting findings and recommendations are being presented to the full board today. The findings include a draft of the updated strategic plan, and we have asked that Deputy Manager Ellen Kitamura make the short presentation on our behalf describing the major elements of the draft. Please note that while you may ask questions of the BWS staff, myself, as well as board members Soon and Anthony, the applicable statute requires that board discussion, deliberation, and decision-making occur at a subsequent meeting. This means that any questions at today's board meeting directed specifically to board members should be limited to those that help you understand the updated strategic plan. But the board should be careful not to venture into discussion of the merits of the draft. If there are no questions, I would ask Deputy Manager Ellen Kitamura to begin her presentation.
Thank you, Chair Andaya. Oh, did I hear a question? Okay, if not, next slide, please, Joy. Okay, what you see here is a table that shows the various meetings and workshops that were held. In January, the board approved the creation of a permitted interaction group to assist the Board of Water Supply senior management team in updating the strategic plan. There were 4 workshops that were held between March and May of this year to work on the plan. In April, we also presented a the draft of the sustainability goals and strategic objectives to the Board of Water Supply Stakeholder Advisory Group to get feedback on our proposed direction for the next 5 years. The Stakeholder Advisory Group did not offer any major comments and generally agreed with the decision. So today we're submitting the Permitted Interaction Group's report and recommendation and the draft of the plan to the board. If the board adopts the plan next month, then we can start implementation of the plan in September. Next slide, please. This slide shows the table of contents for the plan. I'll be going over just the highlighted items in yellow, since these were the areas in which changes were made to the plan. Next slide, please. This slide shows the Board of Water Supply shared values language, and it was simplified to make it easier for staff and managers to communicate the shared value statement. It was changed to have a short catchphrase, as you see in column 1, and this was to add emphasis to the important aspects of the values. And the catchphrase was also accompanied with a more detailed description, as you can see here in column 2. Next slide, please. This slide shows the 3 overarching Board of Water Supply sustainability goals. And these 3 goals have been used to guide the board for the past 2 strategic plans. The goals remained unchanged, resource, operational, and financial, and the descriptions were generally the same, but updated to reflect more current events. Next slide, please. The next few slides will cover the strategic objectives that's associated with each of the sustainability goals. This slide shows the strategic objectives that were identified to support the resource sustainability goal. The categories that are shown in red are new, resource sustainability and resource advocacy. These changes are mainly driven by the team's view that in the upcoming years, the Board of Water Supply will need to be very vigilant on the effects of climate and other environmental changes, both natural and man-made. Red Hill did play an important part in this. And we also need to also develop and sustain partnerships with our stakeholders in the community to help us achieve these goals. Next slide, please. So for the operational sustainability, there was a new category, strengthen operational partnerships. And this also followed the theme of collaboration with external partners, and in this case, specifically government agencies and community decision makers, to ensure that our operational decisions take into consideration a more holistic approach, and also to consider to foster the public trust in Board of Water Supply. Next slide, please. And finally, this is the strategic objective to support our third goal of financial sustainability. An additional category was added regarding financial accountability to our customers and stakeholders. And this is by being accountable and transparent in the management of our finances. Next slide, please. The next few slides will be covering the key action plans for each of the strategic objectives, and then also discuss or show the performance metrics and milestones that will be used to measure success in carrying out each of the action plans. This slide that you see before you shows the key action plans for the resource sustainability strategic objectives. The items that you see in red are information that we will be reporting to the board annually, and we usually do this in October to show progress or changes of status or status of the action plan. Next slide, please. So continuing on with the action plan for resource sustainability, this covers the areas of water quality, water conservation, and resource advocacy, and then also what we will be reporting to the board annually. Next slide, please. So moving on to the operational sustainability goal. This slide shows the key action plans for the strategic goals for organizational resiliency and infrastructure. And as you can see, we have a number of metrics to report on the health of our infrastructure for both our pipelines and pump stations. Next slide, please. Continuing with the operational sustainability goals, this slide shows the key action plans identified for customer service, technology, and strengthening the operational partnership strategic objectives, and also what we will be reporting to the board in red. Next slide, please. Okay, finally, for the financial sustainability goals, these are the key action plans for financial opportunities, financial planning, and the financial accountability strategic objectives, and what we will be reporting. Okay, next slide, please. So included in the board materials for today were two additional documents. One is the report of the permitted interaction group with the recommendations that I have outlined in our presentation. I would like to thank Chair Andaya and board members Soon and Anthony for taking time out of their very busy schedule to help us update the plan. Their insights really help strengthen the plan, especially in the areas of public outreach and advocacy. Also included was the Board of Waters. It's a draft of the proposed 5-year strategic plan. Okay, next slide, please. And big mahalos. Along with the permitted interaction group, I'd like to acknowledge the following people that you see on the side here that helped us update the plan. Of course, the senior management team, and this is comprised of the program administrator and staff officers and their assistants. I'd like to also acknowledge Ann Heinosh and Stacy Gorojewski of Harris and Associates. They provided the facilitation and technical services for the workshops. And then there were also members of the senior management team that helped facilitate the breakout group discussions. And you can see their names here. It was very, I guess the senior managers were deeply involved in helping move the group discussions along. And then I'd also like to really thank the scribes, Dominic Diaz, Oliver Julian, and Junior. These are staff of the Board of Water Supply. They had the important task of documenting the group discussions and capture a lot of the information that was used in the final report. Next slide. Okay, so this concludes our presentation. Mahalo again for all of you that helped update our strategic plan. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and also the permitted interaction group and senior managers are also here. And as Chair indicated, at this meeting, you may ask clarifying questions regarding the report and the draft plan. And this is to help with deliberations and decision making at a subsequent meeting for the board. So questions today are being limited to helping you understand the updated plan information in it, but not the merits of the plan itself. That will be at a future board discussion. So thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ellen. At this time, I just want to check, in the abundance of caution, Madam Secretary, is there any public testimony on this matter?
No, Chair, there's no testimony.
Okay, thank you. All right, members, any questions?
I got a quick question. Sorry to ask so many questions, but I know, and on the report on your strategic plan, our usage is what, 140 million gallons a day?
145 billion gallons
Yeah.
a day.
And heaven forbid that the Red Hill issue goes south on us. And you're planning a desalination plant out in Kapolei side for 1.7 million gallons a day. Is that enough to make up if, like I said, heaven forbid, Red Hill goes south on us? Is that sufficient to make up that loss?
So the initial capacity is 1.7 with the capability to be expanded to 5 million gallons.
So there's a capability, your plan is to be able to expand.
Yeah, the idea is ability to expand in the future if we need to.
Okay, yeah, that's all, real quick. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chair, if you could allow me, I just, in the acknowledgements, there was one name that was left out that should be acknowledged here, that actually is the primary mover and shaker of this whole effort and has been for a number of years on getting us a very concise and wonderful strategic plan. And that's Ellen Keaton-Moore, my deputy. So if I could ask everybody to give her a good applause.
Thank you, Manager Lau. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Ellen.
Okay, members, any
enjoys
further
it.
questions?
No, sorry, I was just gonna say with the smile on her face, looks like she really enjoys doing this kind of stuff, right, Ellen?
I actually do. This is a wonderful part of the job. And the one thing is that it is a teamwork of all of the senior managers and the board. So it really has been a pleasure.
Okay, hearing no further questions, I'd like to thank Ellen as well on behalf of the entire board. It did take up a lot of time, a lot of work, and thank you very much, Ellen. You've done it. I think you did it last time again. So thanks for doing this. Look forward to when we adopt it next month.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right. Moving on. Next item number 3 is the update on fee waivers for affordable, homeless, and automatic fire sprinkler retrofit projects. Chair recognizes Ms. Jennifer Elfline, Program Administrator, Customer Care Division.
Good afternoon, Board Chair and Board members. I'm Jennifer Elfline of the Customer Care Division, and today I am providing the annual update on waivers for affordable, homeless, and automatic fire sprinkler retrofit projects. A little bit of background information first. This waiver program began in September 2018 and will run through June 30th, 2023. During the building permit application process, when an applicable city agency certifies a project as affordable or homeless, the Board of Water Supply will grant a waiver of those charges for the portion of the project that is designated as affordable or homeless only, and that's generally up to 500 units per fiscal year. Next slide, please. So over the past 4 years, the Board of Water Supply waived a total of $2,069,773 in fees, and that's for 23 projects affecting 1,572 units. Next slide, please. In the tables that follow, it breaks down by fiscal year. So in 2019, you'll see that 5 projects had 178 qualified units, and BWS waived $113,764. Next slide. In fiscal year 2020, there were 6 projects, 302 qualified units, and the waiver totaled $504,378. Next slide. In fiscal year 2021, there were 4 projects, 578 qualified units, and the fee waiver was $800,340. Next slide. And this last fiscal year, 2022, there were 8 projects, 514 qualified units, and the waiver was $651,290. Excuse me. Next slide. So you've seen this information before, and I went over it briefly in the beginning. Next slide. And the same for this bullet here, for this bulleted page here. The one thing that is important to note is the last bullet on this page. As I mentioned before, the program is set to expire on June 30th, 2023, and that's unless the board decides that it would like to take action to extend it. Excuse me. And that's the end of the update. Does anyone have questions?
Members, any questions?
Maybe just one, Mr. Chair. Who is responsible to extend if there was an extension? Is it the city?
No, it would be the, sorry, it would be the board, the decision of the board.
Okay.
And we'd have to go through the rule adoption process.
Yeah,
nominate the date.
so Manager Lau, can you just maybe, for our information, the process would be, we would make a decision, but I mean, it would come out of our budget, right?
Yeah, it's still our efforts and the decision by the board. It would affect our revenues coming in. To defer, actually to waive those, so we would not collect the amount that Jennifer shared, were over $2 million in water system facilities charge and meter costs. We would not be collecting it and allow that benefit to go back to whoever is developing the affordable units. And the process is actually through a rulemaking process. So the last time we did this, when we established this program, it happened to be at the time we were going out to adopt new water rates. But because this program ends at the end of this fiscal year, and we're not at the point where we're going to be going out with a rate increase or a rate proposal. We're still doing the rate study. That's maybe a separate action the board could consider to move to amend the date on this rule.
Chair, I have a question for Ernie.
Sure.
ahead.
So Ernie, I'd love to get your manao on sort of how this is working and what you think. I know, I remember when this came about, and this was a program that was really strongly a real priority for the last administration. And I think across the board, not just with respect to BWS, but other city entities as well, in order to really help increase affordable housing and elderly housing. And so I know there was some concern at that time, and that's why we did a trial run of 5 years about kind of what impact it would have. And so I'd love your manao on sort of how you think it's going.
I think the program it had a slow start on the first year, and gradually over the next 3 years, it's really built up to the point where I believe for the last 2 years, we're kind of maxing out at 500 units. There is it has a revenue impact in terms of water system facility charge or impact fees collected and meter costs, but I think the program has been well received by the developers of affordable housing. They appreciate the help, and I think it's a program that demonstrates the board and the department's commitment to support affordable housing, but understanding that there is a cost to it, and I do appreciate setting some units, number of units and allocation annually, so it's not open-ended, because when we look forward in terms of the projected new projects over the next 5 years, because of Red Hill, we've had to try to look at it for the Honolulu water system. We've identified about almost 4,000 permits and projects over the next 5 years plus, increasing the potential water demand by about 5.4 million gallons a day on average. So if we did go forward, the board choose to go forward with a program, if it left it unlimited or with no limits on an annual basis, then it would be hard to ascertain what the financial impact would be as we do the rate studies to project what our revenue requirements over the next 5-year period of proposed water rates. So I think I would support continuing the program, but please consider setting some limits so the financial impact is controllable.
Yeah, so my understanding is that we already set a limit, right? So we've now hit that limit, and so now we need to consider whether we want to go above and beyond what we set, right? Is that the question?
I think that what Jennifer pointed out is that the program is set to sunset at the end of this current fiscal year, the end of next June 2023. So if you want to extend the program or extend with modifications, that is the board's purview to do that. I'm just providing some feedback in terms of the development community has been very happy and appreciative of the support. especially when it's focused on affordable housing. But just a decision the board could have is to extend the program as is or to modify it with an extension.
Perhaps we can, since we have a year, perhaps we can schedule this discussion, or maybe we can schedule this for a future meeting, whether to extend or not, and have further discussion, especially we need to see the financial impacts, I would imagine, potentially, and we can make a decision at a future meeting.
So, based on what I'm hearing from Ernie, you are collecting data for future projects, right?
Yeah, we're doing a cost of service rate study right
Okay,
now.
I would, what I would like personally is that if, when we do make this decision down the road, that we at least have some data on what our projections, what the projection is gonna be. Is that possible?
It might be, and we can show you what we have
Yeah.
at the time. This could coincide with the next rate increases, but there could be a little bit of a time difference between this program and the rate study.
Yeah, I certainly, I would like to have at least some data when we do discuss making this decision.
Yeah.
The other, Mr. Chair, the other thing I hope the other conversation I hope we have is a bigger one. When we did this originally, we did it with the Department of Parks and Recreation, who waived park fees. We did it with DPP, who waived some of the permit fees, et cetera. It was a collective effort. And I suspect everyone's collective effort comes to an end at the end of our 5-year period. It would be really important to have the conversation with the administration as to whether they're gonna continue the other write-downs as well. If we're the only ones out there, I'm not sure how much of an impact would have. What the administration was trying to do was to develop some interest in affordable housing. But if we're just doing this alone, I don't know what kind of impact we'll have. So that conversation, I hope either Chair or Ernie will have with the mayor's office as to whether they intend to continue. And I really want to add, we contributed to 1,500 families getting housing. I think we should be proud of that.
Yes, definitely.
And so thank you for that.
Excellent point. We can do the research into the other city waivers, if there's a sunset date and when it is. And if it's, I can have the discussion with the mayor, meet with him on a regular basis. And Chair, we can look at, in terms of the timeline for rural adoption, working backwards from having to make sure if you want to continue, it takes effect July 1st of next year. Then what kind of time frame do we need to make that decision? Moving backwards in time, so back calculating when we need to start talking about this.
Yes. So yeah, thank you very much, and Board Member Soon, that was excellent point. So we'll schedule this for a future meeting after we get a little bit more information. Okay. If there's not any other questions on this point, I'll move on to the next item. The next item is number 4. And this is the recruitment status. Chair recognizes Ms. Michelle Thomas in our Human Resources Office.
Good afternoon, Board Chair and Board members. Thank you for allowing me to make this presentation. I'm here to provide you with the report for the period of April 2022 through June 2022. For the period of April 2022 through June 2022, we had 7 new hires, 4 promotions, 4 transfers, 1 demotion, 11 separations, and 4 canceled requests. Through the last quarter, we have been working closely with the Department of Human Resources to try to update and tweak our recruitment practices in order to be able to create a little bit more efficiencies and hopefully create a little bit more speediness in our recruitment processes. On the next page, you will see that we had quite a bit of activity that was going on, and we had quite a bit of positions that were under recruitment. We are working with our divisions also to be able to encourage them to fill their positions in a timely manner, including several recent efforts by the manager's office as well as the human resources office to encourage them to fill their positions in a expedited manner if possible, so that way we can get more people into the Board of Water Supply. Other than that, if you have any particular questions about the information that was provided to you, I'm more than happy to provide you some information. And that concludes my report for today. Any questions?
Members, any questions? If not, thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
All right, next item number 5, is the status update of groundwater levels at all index stations. Chair recognizes Mr. Barry Usagawa from our Water Resources
Good
Division.
afternoon, Chair, and congratulations, and also to Vice Chair Sproul for another year of in your positions. So there are 4 aquifers index stations in low groundwater condition for June. Kaluanui in Honolulu and Wailua are in caution, and Kaimuki and Honolulu are in alert. The pumpage was 143 million gallons per day. Rainfall index was 45% for June, but 5-month moving average 63%. So anything under 80%, we're starting to get into the dry season there. National Weather Service is forecasting below normal rainfall through November. So we're in the middle of our summer season. We did have some rain in June, so there was a little less water use island-wide, especially windward. But water levels are they're stable, but they're in somewhat of a decline overall. Kathleen Painui showed you the rainfall index and the pumpage trends, so I won't go into that. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Members, any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on. Thank you very much, Mr. Usagawa, for the report. And hearing no questions, I'm going to move on to item number 6. This is the water main repair report for June 2022. I believe today we have Mr. Wayne Tello, Water Service Superintendent from our Field Operations Division, with the report.
Yes, good afternoon, board members. Kind of nervous. This is my first time doing a report. But
You're doing great.
I've been here for many years, so. For the month of June, we had 33 main breaks. Our leak detection team, point of interest, they checked out 44 locations, and we found 52 leaks. And then I guess now we move on to the Kahana Bay. You can was interested in that. Oh, that's the list right there. That's for all the main breaks there. For the list of the main breaks, we had a few large breaks there. 124, 130, and 42-inch main break for the month of June. And I think I have a slideshow for the Kahana Brain Break. If they can pull that up.
Okay, Joy, thank you.
Okay.
We can see
Next.
it, Wayne.
Yes. Okay. Next page, please. Okay. That's the 36 concrete cylinder main break that we have had at Kahana. Just below the cone, there's you can see where there's some action with rusted spot. That's the concrete cylinder pipe that broke. Yeah. Next page, please. That is the damage that was done to the road. And if you look towards the right, the top of the screen, that's the bridge support for the bridge itself. And you can see that the undermined part is the road, not the bridge. Next slide, please. That's the 36, the 30-inch main that broke. You can see a concrete reaction block. It broke right in front of that reaction block. That's a siphon that goes under the Kahana stream. Okay, next page, next, please. That is the repairs that we did. We spliced out section of the main about 8 feet, and where you see the wooden boards, that's the form that we had to pour concrete under the road to stabilize the road, and we are currently doing more road work and restoration. Next, please. Okay, that's it. Any questions?
I have a
Members,
question.
any questions?
I have a
Oh.
question for Mr. Tello.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that fabulous report. So I have my question is that it seems like so this year we had a total of 370 breaks. The most we've had in a while. And I'm just wondering, I know that, you know, part of our concern around the way that we've been pumping water lately, especially having to move water around, having to make up for the loss of Halava Shaft, is that we're then kind of having to pump more from other systems. And so I'm just wondering if you had any thoughts on kind of whether the increase in main breaks was in any way related to the way we're having to manage the system without Halava Shaft, or whether it was just a bad year.
I think it's just a bad year.
Oh,
I think it's just a bad year.
yeah, thank you, Wayne. Some of the breaks, especially on the windward side, a couple of, especially that Kahana to Honolulu area, anytime there's a fluctuation in power, electric power, which and that can happen, you know, when trees fall in the water, power lines, or a fire hydrant gets knocked out that shorts out the power on an overhead power line. That has created some pressure surges, or, you know, water hammer in the pipeline, the big pipeline, and at least a couple times now caused a main break there. So those are some of the challenges. But yeah, Wayne, I didn't realize you had that big trophy in your office there.
Oh,
So,
move my
okay.
camera down. Sorry. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's allowed, but
Okay,
it's gonna
but
it's gonna come down because you know, I'm gonna be retiring soon.
Oh, no.
well, we cannot lose you, Wayne. But yeah, you know, so we are pumping harder from Pearl Harbor, and where there was water that came into Honolulu from the 42-inch main out of Halava Shaft, that doesn't carry any water right now into Honolulu. It's actually backfeeding into Halava Industrial Park. So we are, you know, pumping harder at different well sources. So. Well, thank you. Thanks,
Okay.
Wayne.
Yeah, if there's no more questions, thank you very much, Wayne. What was that?
Just one really quick, Mr. Chair. Sorry, Wayne. Yeah, thank you for your report. Just really quick. So if it's if the main is put back together and you guys are setting the concrete, how much longer we think we got before they open up both lanes to traffic?
Right now, we need to get a contractor in there, which we're starting tomorrow. they need to do some repair work under the bridge. There's no damage to there's no structural damage, just that there's a wall that was washed out. We have to reinstall the wall and backfill um, the reaction block, and we have to remove some debris that got washed into the stream. As far as the once we can finish the structural wall under the stream along the stream bed, and we can backfill the side of the road, and then we can pretty much open up the road. Right now, as of today, we're pouring. We're trying to fill the voids under the concrete slab, which we did when we had the main break. But there's some voids in the road area that the crew out there right now with the state inspectors watching to make sure that we fill all the voids. So I would say maybe we can open the road in 2 weeks. Maybe about 2 weeks. Yeah, or sooner. Yeah, we want to get the road open as soon as possible.
Yeah, and just please pass along our thanks to the crews that are working day and night to make this go.
Yes,
really
thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Grandpa.
Thank
I know
you.
you live that side. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Wayne. Excellent job. I guess Jason owes you lunch for this.
Thank you.
No, I just want to echo what Naleo said as well, Chair. We were very fortunate, for DOT to escape or dodge the, tropical storm, or tropical cyclone Darby, but, without any issues, but we couldn't, dodge a 30-inch, water main break. So, but you guys did a good job. I mean, you guys immediately started the repair and, the coordination with HPD to plus the traffic and also with the, DTS and the shuttle to make sure that the residents get to, not, assist in any way. So that was a good, so because we were getting a lot of calls.
Yeah, Board Member Butai, I just want to be remiss in not thanking the State Department of Transportation also in their assistance on this main break at Kahana, because by Sunday morning, we were out there with your deputy director and your engineers, highway engineers, to take a look at the damages, and we were very relieved that the bridge structure was undamaged, but the approach road had been undermined. But I really appreciate working with your department, Board Member Butai. It's been a great working relationship through the years. Mahalo.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jade, you and your department. Okay, anything further? Okay, if not, that brings us to the end of our regular agenda. We do have executive session. Let's take a 5-minute break. I need to go up and get a drink. Can I have a motion to enter into executive session?
So move, Chair. Jade.
Second, Kapua.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those against or any objections say nay. Let the record reflect that we've got unanimous vote on entering into executive session. Let's stand in recess for 5 minutes or so. Calling this meeting back to order. Chair recognizes the presence of board members Butai, Anthony, Sprout, and Sword, who is in the conference room.
And
So we have
subject.
quorum, and I'm going to assume your location and status is the same If not, please, board member self-check as well. Please note for the record. Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for your time.